Audio Unleashed.
Okay, what's the intro going to be? It's always challenging to think up something fun and exciting to say to kick us off and get the energy going.
Yeah. You're the idea guy, so I leave that to you.
I'm also the energy guy.
That's true. You are the energy guy.
Hey, it's Audio Unleashed. There we go. We're rolling. It's Audio Unleashed. Now,
okay,
go.
Go. Good deal, man. You're bringing my vibes up.
Now what happens?
Then I ask you, what do you want to talk about this week, buddy?
I want to talk about the world's most timeless composers, the Earth's most natural frequency. One beautiful experience. Except you could do a VO better than I could on that. But I found this preposterous thing. I think I found it on Facebook. That was a thing where this is going to be the special infrasonic edition of Audio Unleashed. And so I found this thing on Facebook where I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but I think they have, it's from Brainwave Research UK.
Yeah.
I don't know how much research was involved or how many brainwaves, but anyway, they have this album where it's like classical music blended with infrasonic stuff at the Schumann resonance, which is 7.83 hertz, which is like the natural resonance of it's not really the Earth, it's the natural resonance of the Earth's surface versus the Earth's ionosphere. Do I have it right?
It kind of, yeah. I mean, it's basically created by, I mean, if you want to simplify it to where a kid could understand it, it's sort of like the relationship between the Earth and lightning, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
Sure.
You know,
supposedly the result is a deeply grounding, beautifully crafted audio session you can return to anytime you need to reset, focus, breathe deeper, or just, I don't know, something or another. But we're going to discuss that. And, we are Ted Denny, good friend of the podcast, we were talking about his products, which also utilize the Schumann resonance to increase inner detail, I think. Or
was that the claim?
Microdynamic or whatever. So I trust him, whatever, to increase something or another. And
his sales, to increase his sales. That's
oh, man. Oh, anyway. So, but I also saw this company Ascendo, Ascendo, which is known for having these giant subwoofers. And I stood in front of one at the Munich show, and it was like as tall as me, more or less. And I'm 6 feet or something. And they have new 64 and 100-inch infrasonic subwoofers. And so since, 7.83 hertz is infrasonic, we thought, well, let's talk about that a little bit too, and talk about some of the infrasonic things that are out there, and if there's anything to all of this stuff. And so after that, we're going to segue gracefully into what?
We are going to segue gracefully into everybody's favorite topic, politics and economics. So anyway, there's a new article that you turned me on to in Stereophile by Julie Mullins, Retails 56, The Impact of Tariffs on the Hi-Fi Industry. I have to say, I kind of first thought that you were sending me this article as rage bait because, expecting any sort of mainstream publication to cover economics and tariffs in any way that makes sense or is fair to the working class just seems ridiculous to me. But I have to say, I kind of think Julie did a really good job with this in a lot of ways, sort of covering things that I wouldn't have expected to be covered in ways that I would not have expected them to be. And there's some nuance here. And there's also, this is going to shock you, I know, but there are things in here that actually kind of make me a little sympathetic to some of the capitalists, man. So,
wow, I can't wait to hear more about this.
I know. Look, I didn't have that on my bingo card for 2025 either, but, just calling balls and strikes. So there are a couple of other articles that you had linked tangentially. One from CNN, Trump's EU deal averts disaster, but fewer cheerings. So anyway, broadly speaking, we're going to talk about tariffs. We're going to talk about what it's doing to hi-fi. And as best we can, I suppose, talk about what it means for the future. But spoiler warning, I think that's the takeaway. Nobody really knows, man. The future is uncertain, and the uncertainty is causing the hi-fi market to do weird things at a time when it was already doing weird things. But we'll dig into it. So what do you want to talk about after that?
I want to talk about the ultimate speaker. Not build as such, but I build it as such in our vision board. It is the new $69,000 Focal Mezzo Utopia, which, Focal, Focal's known for a lot of stuff. I mean, they make some pretty cheap little affordable speakers. They make headphones and all kinds of stuff. But they also have some of the sort of best known and best regarded super, super high-end speakers. And so this is a $69,000 a pair speaker, but it's not just another big, giant, impressive tower speaker. It's actually wireless, and the amps are built in, and it's active, and it's got Bluetooth and AirPlay 2 and Chromecast and all that kind of stuff. And so it's actually... It's a $69,000 speaker that has all the features that you would expect from a, $600 or $800 wireless speaker.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about it in that respect, but that's a really great way to put it, man.
But that's the whole thing, is like the features that mainstream consumers are expecting are trickling up into the high end. Yeah. And after we do that, if anybody's still awake, and if they subscribe to our Patreon feed, what will they hear?
There you go. That's the key. So for patrons this week, we're talking about an article that I stumbled across. I have to admit the backstory of this might not be interesting to most people, but it's sort of interesting to me. I don't use Google anymore, but for whatever reason, I opened up a browser that I don't normally use, and it defaulted to Google. And Google's constantly, like, if you've got a blank homepage, they're just shoving articles your way. Yeah. And they sort of fed me this article from What Hi-Fi. And it is called "The BBC's 50-year-old LS35A mini monitor shows the uneven progress of modern speaker design." So the article basically talks about the fact that the author actually borrowed some LS35A mini monitors from like the Keff Museum. Wow. And was it the Keff Museum? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, they're private stash. So our patrons will know this, but Kev made the drivers for the LS35As. Although it took them a while to actually be able to produce their own pair of full speakers, they did the drivers. So, but so they go through and do a comparison. Like, what are these classic speakers first introduced in the 70s, based on research that really started in the 60s, right? Like, how do they compare to modern speakers? And it's not the deepest article in the world, but I still think it's interesting and worth talking about. And I know you've got a lot of, history and background and information that insight that you can share on this topic. So it's going to be a fun discussion.
This is such an important speaker, and I think it's not really discussed why it's so important. Because I think a lot of people don't realize why it's so important. They think they do, but they really kind of don't. And you would have to you could read a whole lot of articles by John Atkinson of Stereophile going back 30 years plus. Yeah. And glean all this stuff. But I'll give it to you in a few sentences.
Yeah. Nice. That's what I need, man. Give me the TLDR. That's what you're good for.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we get there, let's start talking about brainwave research and Schumann resonance. So... as you headed out in the intro, like that came up, like we've discussed this before. We've discussed this concept because of Ted Denny, but this is a whole different thing. So how did you come across this, and why did it stand out? Why'd you put it in the idea board, bud?
Well, because I saw it on Facebook and I thought it was stupid. But it also It also kind of clicks into some other stupid audio trends. Actually, there's trends more in audio marketing than they are in actual, perception of audio, in my opinion. But I remember, I don't think either of us had ever heard of the Schumann resonance, but then we did an informative examination of the power conditioning products of synergistic research, and they're claiming, they somehow employ the Schumann resonance to do, again, something or another. And, we looked at that and said, what is this about? What does this have to do with audio? Well, anyway, but then I see someone on the software side. So what happens is you buy this as an MP3 download.
Yeah.
And
well, you're underselling it a little, buddy, because they specifically say this is a studio quality audio file. It is a 320 kilobits per second MP3. So they only the best for their listeners.
That's wow, Dennis. You know what I just realized? Audio Unleashed is studio quality. Because we have to submit this as a 320 kilobit per second MP3. So we are now studio quality. I guess we didn't realize that. So I hope all you good people realize how much work we're putting into to make this thing studio quality. Yeah. Without actually having studios. But anyway, so supposedly it's unclear what exactly they do, but they're handpicking Baroque masterpieces. And I don't think these are all actually Baroque, are they?
I don't believe so.
Well, Bach was Baroque. Mozart was, I think, not Baroque. I'm not the classical. Brahms was definitely not Baroque. He was Romantic.
Right. Yeah.
And Chopin and Borodin, I don't know what. Well, I know I'm familiar with their music, but I don't know what. I don't get into all these genre classifications on music so much.
Yeah.
So anyway, they've taken some of the most quote unquote emotionally intelligent Baroque compositions ever written, and again, at least half of these are not Baroque. And layered them with our proprietary 3X Pure Tone, and that's all one word, 3X Pure Tone trademark, with a little trademark sign, brainwave audio tech, precisely tuned to 7.83 hertz, also known as the Earth's natural frequency. And I gotta say, precisely tuned, it makes it sound like there's some dude with like a violin and a micrometer or something doing something, but all you do is you type in 7.83 hertz and it gives you 7.83 hertz. What's so hard about that?
Okay, so here's my question: what is that? What is tuned to 7.83 hertz here? Is this like a binaural beats situation where does this only work on headphones? Is it basically that sort of interference thing? Because I mean, I don't. Not a lot of transducers that are really going to give you usable energy down to 7.83 hertz.
Although we will be talking about one.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it's got to be a difference thing. So what do they do though? What is the mechanism for delivering this 7.83 hertz healing frequency?
That's a really good question. They don't specify what your playback system is supposed to be. It's supposed to, they just say, play it on your phone, tablet, or computer, on a walk, in bed, on a plane, train. Obviously, so it's certainly headphones. That's really what they're talking about, is probably, except for in bed. Well, you could wear headphones in bed. Yeah. But on most of this stuff, it's going to be almost all of this is going to be headphone listening. So maybe it is binaural beats. And that would be where correct me if I'm wrong. I actually worked on a binaural beat thing 20 or 30 years ago for someone, making all the tones or whatever for it. But this would be where you play one frequency in one ear and a different frequency in the other. And when you play two frequencies, you get some tones and different tones, right? Correct. So if you play 100 hertz and 20 hertz, you get 120 hertz tone, and then also whatever the difference is.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's sort of similar to intermodulation distortion, but in the case of like binaural beats, it's intentional, and the point is they're saying, that when your brain will lock into those beats that are created in your brain, because again, there's no 5 hertz tone being played in your ears, right? Your brain creates that 5 hertz tone, but that is supposed to, your brain waves are supposed to sync to that. And the jury is out as to whether or not there's anything in that. I mean, it just hasn't been studied enough. I mean, I guess you could say there's a mechanism there where it kind of makes sense. And I've listened to some of them before, and I don't know, it kind of felt relaxed or whatever, but maybe it was just because I believed that I was going to feel relaxed. I don't know. It hasn't been studied enough, but at least there's a mechanism there. At least they've got something that could be tested, It just hasn't been. But this crap, this 3X pure tone, they're not even giving us a mechanism. So we don't even know if this is a binaural beats thing. So we're just speculating. That's all we can do.
Yeah. I mean, one of the problems is if you start putting this through speakers, especially if it's routing into a subwoofer, even, like the best subwoofers, except for the ones we're going to talk about in a minute, don't go down to 7.83 hertz. I mean, they're going to filter it out. They're going to have an infrasonic filter, infrasonic filter at, 10 hertz or something, right? If they don't want their product to blow up. I mean, there's going to be an infrasonic filter in there somewhere, almost certainly. Yeah. And especially if it's like normal small speakers that normal people have, absolutely it will. 7.83 hertz, it's going to look at that like it's light, and it's going to say, I don't recognize that as an electromagnetic source.
Yeah.
And I'm therefore going to ignore it.
Yeah.
So it's very questionable whether or not whatever you're using is going to reproduce this in any way.
Yeah.
And you can't also pick out that tone. You could feel the vibration, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a vibrator thing that does 7.83. You could make like a couch shaker that does 7.83 hertz, right? But anyway, this is just so... I until someone explains exactly what they're doing here, I guess we should have bought one of these dumb things for $13 and actually seen what it does
for a limited time, because it retails for $67. Although, do we have any evidence it's ever sold for $67?
I would guarantee you, unless it was the two company principals and one of them sold it to the other for $67, or something like that. No, but. It kind of just annoys me, though, that like this is supposed to be music, and music they are absolutely right that, when they say, when you press play on classical magic, this thing, everything shifts, the breath slows, the thoughts soften, and the mind begins to open. Well, that can happen with any kind of music, right?
Yeah. Writing an article about that right now. Just sort of my physiological reactions to my sound system,
Yeah. So, that's fine. But like, I'll give these guys credit for one thing. Their story is a lot more plausible than a lot of what we look at here on audio.
But least.
So give them credit for that. So, however, I was going to say nothing can reproduce this, but there is something new that probably can reproduce this.
Yeah.
And
something that'll play down to 1 hertz, apparently.
Not the deepest audio response ever achieved.
What's the deepest audio response ever achieved?
The deepest audio response ever achieved was the Lurple Labs Barry White headphones, which went down to minus 10 hertz.
Oh, nice.
That was in the article by Jeff Morrison.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember Lauren modeled those, didn't she?
Lauren modeled those, minus 10 hertz. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So a brilliant audio engineer built the product. Jeff wrote about it.
Yeah.
So brilliant and mysterious audio engineer who you may have had some passing relationship with. So anyway, but his identity shall have to remain concealed for now.
Yeah. It's okay.
Anyway.
I've got a big spotlight on my roof that can call him if I need to. So.
All the way from Alabama.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the Ascendo 100-inch subwoofer. And
well, there's two. There's a 64.
Yeah.
If 100 is overkill, right? If you don't need the 100 inches, you can also get the piddly little 64-inch subwoofer.
So what is the purpose of these things?
Are you expecting me to defend this?
Yeah, didn't you read the Reddit thread on it?
The Reddit thread was just like, "Hey, these exist," and somebody else going, "Wow." I mean, there was not much to it, but yeah, I mean, reading over this article in Audio Express, I mean, they're just talking about we're proud to be the leader in infrasonic bass. I mean. I think it really boils down to is bass you can feel instead of bass you can hear. What they're ignoring is so much of our content doesn't have anything that deep to begin with.
Right.
I mean, how would it? But also, man, I mean, it's just their website, the Ascendo website, doesn't have specifications on the new ones yet, the 64 and the 100. But the 100, I think, is a replacement for the 80. And I'm looking at the specs for that, and it's got comes with two rack-mounted 10,000 watt amplifiers. And the frequency response on this thing, calculated data, they say, with a custom enclosure dependent. The frequency ranges 1 hertz to 100 hertz with 105 dB efficiency. That's just insane, man. But here's my question. Where are you going to put it? You can't put this thing behind a perf screen because the screen would be flapping I mean, it would just be...
No matter how tight it was.
You would think you were going blind. And also, the 80-inch model weighs 573 pounds. Can you just imagine what the 100-inch weighs?
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard one of these. They've been at audio shows, but they've always been just flopping out on the floor. I've never heard one actually demoed. And it would be a kick to hear this demoed. I will say, though, that, you can also use, we were talking about couch shakers before, and couch shakers can do these super low frequencies. And you could accomplish... I was about to ask,
why wouldn't you just get a tactile transducer? Because I used to have, in my home theater, when I had home theater recliners, I had tactile transducers under the feet, and I didn't hate it. I mean, it was kind of cool, especially, I mean, if you're going to watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World, fine, turn the amp on and get your butt shaken a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't leave it on for The Shape of Water or something, but, for just a stupid action movie, sure, it's fun. But what is the purported advantage of this over just having a tactile transducer under your butt?
It will energize the room differently. There's that feeling. Look, I've tested probably more tactile transducers than anybody because I've been at it since the mid-90s. Maybe before. I can't remember where I started, but I went way back. And, even before they even had codified a lot of the way to do it, and I was actually using a guitar stomp box to EQ it and stuff like that and get it to work right because the manufacturer basically did not really have that all figured out. And I really like them, but they don't really energize the room in terms of the air pressure in the room. And, with a big, SVS or SU or something sub, one of their, or, Power Sound Audio or whatever, they're big giant subs. They just have this way of pressurizing and you feel it in your chest, which you don't with a couch shaker. So that's something.
I worked at a haunted house one year, and we worked to find a sub that would play much deeper than 20 hertz, and I think we fed it some 17 or 18 hertz tones, and it would just you get near it and you start to feel weird. It just you're not really thinking, oh, I'm hearing bass. You just feel very uncomfortable.
Well, I like it. I will say, the deepest tones I know of on recordings, and I'm sure some of our listeners can chime in with some other suggestions, but the Boston Audio Society recording of the Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony goes down to I think 16 hertz, and I don't know where you buy that still. If you Google, Boston Audio, maybe we'll put a link in if we can find it. I have a copy. But also the beginning of, what is that movie, Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise? Another friend of the podcast. And
I just like that one because he dies a lot.
Anyway, the opening of that is supposed to show the chaos that has happened on Earth because of these aliens that have come in, and it goes like, and it goes down to, I think, 16 hertz also.
Wow.
And like I said, any of the really kick-ass subs that you can buy nowadays will do that, and they will pressurize your whole house. I mean, it's really, I think it's an awesome experience. But I know of 2 recordings that have that. So what's the point?
Not a lot of Blu-rays out there with sub 20 hertz bass. I mean, a lot of Blu-rays don't even have like sub 25 hertz bass. It's filtered out. So I don't think a lot of people really understand how deep that is. I mean, we say it all the time that, 20 hertz bass is the lowest you can hear, but you really feel it more than you can hear it. But I don't think people think about, like, what does it actually sound? People's relationship with bass is very weird. And what people describe as, deep bass is often not in the 20 hertz range. It's like in the 40 to 50 hertz range. That's what people think of as bass. So
sometimes even 80, 100,
Yeah, so recalibrate your expectations about whether you would even find this pleasant, because you might not be as weird as Brent Butterworth,
You probably are not,
possible.
but I hope you are. So I guess we should segue into our next thing. But I will say, this has been a fun little, our infrasonic special edition of Audio Unleashed. I have to say, this has been a new low for Audio Unleashed. Boom, boom.
Oh man, how long you been sitting on that?
Literally 30 seconds.
Nice. I love it. I never can tell with you. All right, let's go get some water, take a quick break, and come back and talk about everybody's favorite subject, politics. This is Audio
Unleashed.
And this time around, we are talking about tariffs. This is actually prompted by an article from Stereophile by Julie Mullins, as I said in the intro. Retails 56, the impact of tariffs on the hi-fi industry. This is a really good, comprehensive overview that talks to and quotes quite a few people, that is just sort of a snapshot about where we are right now in what the, regime's sort of haphazard and unpredictable tariff policy is doing to our industry in particular. I mean, let's face it, it's affecting every industry, but we don't write about every industry. So it was really interesting to see a hi-fi specific breakdown of this. But before we dig into this article, I just want to do a little bit of a self-promotional pitch. So I think a lot of people know that I also produce and edit the Soundstage Audiophile podcast, which I continued to do after you and I no longer co-hosted it. And recently we had an interview with Paul Hales of Theory Audio Design, Pro Audio Technology, talking about, what it's like to be sort of an American manufacturer right now who manufactures in both China and the US. And the reason I'm pitching it is because not only is it a different perspective, that it's a different angle from Julie's piece, which I think, put Julie's piece and that podcast together and you've got a more complete picture. But I think the really great thing that Paul does that a lot of people need to hear is he actually explains what tariffs are and how they work. I mean, a lot of people think that, whatever. You slap a tariff on China and you're punishing China.
Mhm.
Not really. You're punishing your own citizens for buying things from China. That is a tax that we pay, right? And
Yeah.
it is, if you're a direct consumer, if you're importing something from China, doing this drop shipment crap from, Temu or wherever, yeah, you pay the tariff. But if you're buying something from a distributor in the US, they're paying the tariff. And Paul did a really, really great job of breaking down like that's not just finished products either. That's also components, and it's complex. But one of the things that I really liked about Julie's piece here that put things in perspective is that, when you're talking about an importer or a manufacturer even paying tariffs on something, it's not quite the same as like paying 10% on cost is not the same as paying 10% on retail. So the tariffs aren't hitting the manufacturers as financially hard as they're hitting consumers, but they're hitting them differently. It's not necessarily, just because it's cheaper, it's worse, because they're still trying to figure out how to run a business, and they're still trying to figure out, are they going to pass these tariffs along to the consumers or are they not? Because, as we know, man, when prices go up for any reason, whether that be legitimate supply chain issues or just greedflation, they tend to not go back down,
Yeah.
So even if like, let's say, somebody is importing something and they raise prices 25% to account for the tariffs and the tariffs go away tomorrow, do you think the price is going to go down 25% again? No, that's just what
Not
it is.
usually.
Now. That's what it costs. So
Not usually. Yeah.
that is something that I haven't seen a lot of articles explore, and I really appreciate that Julie did here. So what was your biggest takeaway from all of this?
Well, I'm, you're only seeing the downside of this, and I'm seeing the upside.
Okay.
And that's that, proud American companies like Audio Research, which makes high-end tube amps, can finally thrive when they're free of the unfair competition of Jadi. It's like,
man,
that's the whole thing. This whole thing is supposed to help American industry, but what American hi-fi companies there are, and there are quite a few, they're just none of them are real big, at least in terms of people that build stuff in the US. I mean, Wilson Audio Research, Macintosh, quite a few of them, but none of them are what you call household names. All of them have been around for a long, I shouldn't say all, the better known ones have been around for a long time, and they've done just fine under whatever. I don't think that these companies are going to experience any positive benefits from this.
Well, they still have to import the chips, man.
They still have to import their parts. And, and Audio Research has to import tubes. I don't think somebody is making tubes in the US now, I think, but, still they're mostly made in Russia?
Yeah, Russia and China.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we had any American tubes. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, I think they're done under the Western Electric brand, I believe. But, it's a tiny little, if memory serves correctly. But it's a tiny little niche thing. It's not, it's for some audiophile who wants to have American tubes in his 300B amp or whatever. So they're having to import stuff anyway to build their products. And there's not going to be, I'm looking at this Audio Research power meter on the front. I guarantee you that thing's made in, I don't guarantee, I strongly suspect it's made in China. And a new American manufacturer of power level meters is probably not going to emerge anytime soon. And why would we do that? So, there's other things we could make that, would have a lot more positive benefits for the United States than the little doohickey things that go into these audio products. So I'm just curious though, I just wonder, so I've seen manufacturers, and look, it used to be like you could tour speaker plants that in the US. Now you can't, except on a very boutique sort of level. I've toured toured TV manufacturing plants in the U.S. back when they made CRTs. You know, I toured a Sony plant that was in Pennsylvania. I toured an RCA plant that was in Bloomington, Indiana. Pioneer used to make they would used to do final assembly on their plasmas in somewhere on the outskirts of LA, I think Pomona. And it was Pomona.
Yeah.
And because Andrew Jones actually had his research facility in the same building.
Wow.
And weirdly. And he liked it because they left him alone. Anyway, he had lots of space.
Did you know that a lot of Sony media used to be made in Alabama?
I think I did know that. In Dothan, Alabama?
Yeah, Dothan, Alabama, like tapes and even some optical discs and stuff like that. Yeah, it's all made in Dothan. It's kind of wild. It hasn't been for, I think, at least, I think they shut down like 15 years ago, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, if I'm remembering correctly. But even as recently as that, they were making physical media here in Alabama, which is wild to me.
I mean, I'll tell you, I remember those plants opening, and I think it was the early 90s, and I was working for Video Magazine, and it was, I think our editor-in-chief went down to attend the opening of that plant or something like that. And it was like just such a weird thing that a Japanese company would have a tape plant in Alabama. And that was right when Japanese companies were just starting to build factories in the U.S. But, you know, so this used to exist. Whether or not it could exist again, I think is extremely questionable, because you're paying people, you know. I remember another manufacturer, and this was pretty recent, like 5 years ago or something. It was a company that was building amps in the U.S., small company, not a big name or anything. And he had a little factory, and it was fine. And they were keeping up with their demand and stuff. And they were selling everything they could make. It was a good operation. It was basically, he was happy. But some investor wanted him to like price out just for, the exercise of it, price out, talk to some Chinese manufacturers and find out what it would cost to do the amps. And this guy used to love quizzing me. I'm like, what do you think this costs? What do you think this costs? And he'd show me like products, maybe even not things he did, but he'd say, what do you think the landed cost is on this? And he was always surprised that I often had a pretty good guess. But he says, so he's like, so I priced it out what it would cost to build these things in China. And he's like, what do you think it was in terms of percentage of what it costs us to do it here? And I was thinking, I'm like, it's a boutique manufacturer. It's all hand labor. I mean, not the boards. Loading the boards they actually did with a, wave soldering machine and everything. But it's, all the assemblies. Most of it was just assembly of, hand labor and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to guess 65% as much as your cost in the U.S. He said, no, it was less than a third.
Wow.
To do the same product in China.
Paul also had an interesting but different perspective on manufacturing in terms of like, one of the things that Jordan, the new host of the Soundstage Audiophile podcast, was trying to get to the heart of with Paul was like, okay, you manufacture some stuff in the US and some stuff in China. Like, why? How do you make that decision? And Paul was like, it's not just a matter of economy. Oftentimes, it's a matter of possibility. One of the ways that China is able to produce things as economically as they can is economies of scale. But what if you just need like 5 of something? He's like, I can get 5 of something made in our North Carolina, with our North Carolina partners. I can't get 5 of something made in China, right? If I'm making it in China, it's got to be thousands of something, right? Yeah. But if you want something more boutique with like the pro audio technology stuff, which, that is for big, like rich people home theater systems, right? He's like, yeah, you're not going to get that done in China. And it's not just a matter of, well, we don't need it to be cheap because we're selling to rich people. It's just like, they can't make you 5 of something. That's just not how they roll. So I thought that was really, really interesting. There was another thing that I thought was interesting in the Stereophile piece too, and was honestly surprising to me. I'm not used to seeing mainstream publications be this blatant in sort of honestly assessing the motivations of the regime. Mm-hmm. This line struck me. Trump's tariffs and threats have weakened the dollar. Well, yeah, obviously. But then she goes on, just as they were intended to do. That's kind of that is a bold accusation, but I mean, it tracks with reality and it tracks with the evidence. But that was shocking to me to see a mainstream publication like this just call it like it is, right? I don't know why that's so startling to me these days, but yeah, dude's undermining the value of the dollar because that's kind of the point. It's like, wow. Okay, go on ahead then, Julie, but dang, that's surprising. Did that stand out to you, or is that just me being weird and wonky?
Well, it's just interesting because I think a lot of people's reaction to these tariffs has been pretty simplistic. She's pointing out that the products manufactured overseas cost the importers more even before the tariffs. But then, of course, the products that are made in the U.S. are going to cost less, right? In Europe or Asia, except for the fact that there's reciprocal, revenge tariffs that other countries are doing, right? And they're raising their tariffs in response, as almost always happens. Yeah. And the whole thing is, I think the Stereophile article did a good job in that it basically shows the level of colossal uncertainty, and uncertainty is never good for business. You want to be able to predict if you're making an investment in something, which I have done because I bought measurement gear. And, if you're a freelance writer, you're buying all your own stuff, right? You're buying your own computer, whatever. And, you look at that and you think, okay, am I going to make the money back on this thing? How essential is this for my job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Because obviously I'd love to buy tons of really expensive measurement gear, but I got to look at it and be like, okay, is this the best use of my money? And, I was able to buy the measurement gear I had because I was looking out at a 5-year, I actually did projections and all this stuff. I was actually looking at it a 5-year projection thinking like, oh, okay, that'll pay for itself in 5 years or less. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. But like if the price of the measurement gear would have been wildly fluctuating, I would have been like, wait, it just went up, I don't know, 20 or 30%. Is it going to go back down? Should I buy now before it goes up more? What should I do? Maybe I just shouldn't buy measurement gear and I should just make up some BS like most audio writers do, because then I don't have to invest any money in it. And it just becomes a lot more complicated when you have to try to predict what's going to happen. And nowadays, you really can't predict anything because any deal that gets signed, like this European deal that just got signed for a 15% tariff, which is, I think they were 1.2% before, roughly.
Yeah, something like that.
You have that. It's like you don't know how long that deal's going to hold. I mean, things were signed, but, signature, schmignature.
Good job, buddy.
So it's, the whole thing is just very questionable. And I feel bad for business people that they have to navigate all this stuff. And, Wirecutter did an article about this too, although it was a few months ago, so it's out of date already. Yeah. And they basically found, prices went up on some stuff. Prices actually went down on a couple things, and prices stayed the same on a lot of stuff. But, we bought there's a ukulele I wanted to test for Wirecutter from Harley Benton, which is it's all stuff made in China, but it's a German company called Thomann, Thomann, which is the importer of it. And I think they own the Harley Benton brand name, which is kind of, a lot of guitar players are looking at this going, oh, this Harley Benton stuff's not too bad. Yeah. And So I was like, I didn't have a lot of new ukuleles to test. There's not a lot of new technology come out in ukuleles, but I found this one. I'm like, well, that one looks good. And I saw a couple good reviews of it. I thought, well, let's just, and I couldn't find anybody at the company to get a sample from. So I thought, let's just buy one. And I put in an order for Wirecutter to buy it. And I think the ukulele was $60. And I think the tariffs were like $120 or something.
Wow.
And because I don't know what happened, I guess maybe it shipped from Germany or whatever, but it was Chinese, and who knows how the tariffs were figured. But, that was not mentioned in my order or in, the order that Wirecutter made for me. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, we can send, you can get, your ukuleles here in the United States. You can get it if you send us $120. And which we did, but I would have gotten in huge trouble for that, except for the fact that it gave us like an anecdote for the story. So I got off.
I'm deep into updating the guide to Bluetooth receivers for Wirecutter right now. I'm hoping to wrap that up soon. And one of the new pieces that I wanted to bring in was, it was one of the Feos, and they didn't have any in stock in the US, so they had to ship it to me from England, I think. But the tariff rate changed as it was crossing the ocean or something like that. And all of a sudden I got a notification from DHL, hey, you want your package? Cough it up, buddy. And I don't remember what the fee was, but it was I ain't paying that. I mean, I guess we'll just send it back and be like, guys, sorry, we were going to test this, but no. But Feo stepped up and was like, no, we'll pay the tariff. So I got that piece in. But it's just, I mean, there were times where I was sort of talking with our editor, Adrian Maxwell, about this. It's like, do we even do this right now? I mean, is this a product category? But then it's kind of like, well, then when's the right time to do it? We've got new pieces. We got to test them. And I think, people know it's a really volatile time to be buying anything electronics. So just inform them as to whether or not it's the product is good in and of itself, and they can make their own decisions about whether to risk the, direct importing or trying to find it from a local retailer or something like that. So,
the direct importing thing, which was getting big, shipping straight from China, which was getting big, except now it seems to be pretty close to non-existent. And, I happen to for my backyard decor, little solar thingies, like solar powered things that light up at night when the sun goes down. And I have a new one that's a dragon that breathes fire, and it's really cool looking. And
nice.
And so I buy these things off Temu, right? By far the best source. And it used to be like Temu would ship it straight from China, but now it's shipping from some dude in Texas.
Yeah.
So I guess they import a whole bunch of them to some dude in Texas who is got some kind of warehouse down there, and he does the shipping so that the tariff is taken care of on his end, and the price is predictable, so they don't have to put something on Temu. It is we've seen where it's like, oh well, we can ship you this thing, but we don't know what the tariffs are going to be, and we're not responsible. But they're saying, okay, the tariff's covered, don't worry about it.
But stuff on Temu is like unaffordable now. The stuff that has already made it into the US and has the tariff baked in, because there's this, you're going to make fun of me for this, but I haven't given you anything to make fun of me about in at least 5 minutes. So there's this yarn that I love, the Malabrigo yarn, and it is just gorgeous, hand dyed yarn. Oh, it's like knitting with this Malabrigo yarn is just like a sensual experience, but it is expensive. It's like $18.50 for a little hank, right? And you could buy very comparable yarn on Temu for $6 a hank. You could, before all of this crap happened. Now the cheap knockoff crap is $25. So you could literally buy the luxury stuff from the Craftivist in Atlanta or something like that, that you get it cheaper than you can get the cheap knockoff crap from Temu, because the cheap knockoff crap from Temu now has all of the tariffs baked in if it's shipping from the US. So
see there, mission accomplished. Let's print like a giant banner and put it on our aircraft carrier. Mission accomplished. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, it's
yeah.
the thing is this is gonna be a while before this settles down. Someday it will settle down, but it's going to require some major changes in the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So right now, this is going to be the way of things for the foreseeable future, and it's going to be an ongoing challenge for the audio industry in every single way.
Yeah. All right, man. You want to come back and talk about these crazy, what are this, $69,000 speakers from Focal?
I'm excited about these things. I better buy them before the tariffs kick in.
All right, let's go get some water, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Ready to rock whenever you are, brother.
Okay. Hello, Cleveland. This is Audio
Unleashed.
I just wanted to kind of come up with like a 1970s Kiss kind of thing.
Yeah.
To build the
crowd
excitement.
noises. Yeah.
What they used to say at Kiss, you wanted the best, so you got the best. The hottest podcast in the world, Audio
Unleashed.
There we go. Man, we got excitement.
Heck yeah.
So, and we have speakers here that are, I guarantee you, probably better than what anybody in KISS owns. I don't know what they own. Crap, probably. They probably have some big honking PA speakers that they think
probably can't hear them anyway.
And they can't hear them anyway, for God's sake.
Yeah, those dudes can't hear above like 6 kilohertz, man.
Yeah, they're in the turtle range of hearing at this point.
Yeah.
Because turtles top out at like 800 hertz or something. But anyway, these are the Focal. This is from Audio Express. And these are the Focal Diva Mezza Utopia speakers. And they are beautiful. They are distinctive. Yeah. There's a lot of engineering because, typical with the high-end, well, any of the Focal speakers, but the high-end ones are always show a lot of thought. And they've done a lot of kind of innovative things like having separate enclosures for different speakers and kind of building a thing where the different enclosures kind of stack, but they kind of are at slightly different angles and stuff. And all of which is based on, acoustics rather than, some of it, I guess, based on design, but it's based around acoustical principles that are solid.
Form follows function.
Yeah. These are cool speakers. This would be like if I had a colossal amount of money, I would probably just buy these things. I
kind of think this is awesome. Like one of the places you and I are going to really, really agree. Because if I had screw you money, I'd be looking at these going, only thing it doesn't have that I need is a phono preamp, and my turntable's got a really good phono pre-built in. Yeah, this is it. This is all I need. This and a turntable. Yeah.
So anyway, these are unusually for this price point, they are fully powered speakers. And they have the electronics are built by Name Audio, famous high-end brand, and it's 500 watts a speaker. Does it say if they're biamped?
It's active. It's an active speaker.
It's active.
So,
okay. So it's 4 8-inch cone woofers per speaker, and it looks like it's about a 6.5-inch mid-range and a 1-inch tweeter or something, somewhere in that range, right? So these are really genuinely full-range speakers. Amps are built in. They have Qobuz Connect built in, just because we like to talk about Qobuz first.
Yeah.
And they also have whatever Spotify Connect built in. And they have Google Chromecast, right? Yeah. And they have Apple AirPlay 2.
Yeah.
And Bluetooth. And so they really, and they also have, like their own room tuning system built into them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a genuinely state-of-the-art system.
Oh, and you're missing something key. It's
got
HDMI ARC with CEC.
Yeah.
The feature that you and I often harp on.
Now, granted, you can go buy speakers for, I think the KEF, what is that little KEF thing they have? I can't remember the model number, but it's about $900 or $1,000 a pair that has all these features.
Yeah, like the LS50 wireless or something. Is that the one at that price point?
There's a lower price one. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
This is one of the ones I'm considering buying when I retire. So I can actually enjoy listening to audio again. But these features are so common in the lower end, in the $1,000-ish, $1,500, $2,000 system. There's so many, all the major brands have systems like that. But to see it in a $70,000 speaker, I think is really cool because it kind of shows that side of the market is starting to get it.
Yep.
And starting to understand the benefits of this and starting to not think like, I think for so long that part of the market was just like, well, nah, it can't be any good if the amp's built in. I have to have a big amplifier and a big preamp and a big this and a big that. And, of course, Bluetooth. No, forget Bluetooth and forget, all this wireless crap. It has a, it's just not as good as a wired connection. And blah, 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 none of which has any real grounds in reality. And with this thing, it's bringing you it's actually a super high-end product. It's a, kind of almost it's not a flagship product for them because their flagship speakers are really huge.
Oh, yeah.
But it is it's $70,000 a pair is pretty flagship. That's way beyond what most people can afford. Right. And way beyond what I could afford unless my fortunes change dramatically and quickly.
Can I ask you to speculate about one nit that if I were buying these, there's one thing that I would be disappointed about.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
Although I think you might have a different perspective. So for each speaker, they have 3 amplifiers. The low frequency amplifier is 200 watts. That's again per channel. The mid frequency is 130 watts. The high frequency is 90 watts. All fine. Makes sense. They're matching the output of the amplifier to the driver's needs. Good. All 3 amps in each cabinet are Class A, B. Why did they not do Class D, Brent?
Well, marketing. They have a problem. I mean, they have a big giant heatsink on the back of this thing. All right.
Yeah.
It is a big heatsink. Big heatsink.
Which would not be necessary if it were Class D. Yeah.
Right. Almost the entire length of the speaker. And I'm pretty sure that's for marketing reasons. I mean, certainly for the woofer section alone. I mean, if you want to go Class A, B on the tweeter and maybe the mid-range, well, fine. That's not that big of a deal. Your power consumption is not really that high. Your idle power is, I don't know, 10 watts a speaker, maybe less. Some people have gotten the idle power on the AB down to, I think D'Agostino has it down to like 1 watt now. So you can do it, but there's no, it's pretty silly to suggest that Class AB is better on subwoofers now. I mean, I think there might still be a manufacturer who maybe I think even Rel gave up on that. I mean, I think they still make Class AB amps, but they gave up on the notion that oh no, only Class AB is good enough for us. I think they have a couple Class D products now. I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Because there are actually laws about energy consumption in many countries. And let's not forget, a brand like Focal is probably selling in 70 or 80 or 100 countries, and so they got to pay attention to that. If you are selling in that many countries, it's getting to the point where it's almost impossible to meet power consumption standards and have a non-switching power supply.
Yep.
So your power supply's got to be switching anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would pretty much guarantee you this thing has a switching power supply in it. And the same reason that, Constellation Audio, who I have written some marketing stuff for, they switched over to switching power supplies because they sell in so many countries, and just in the major countries, the power supplies are very stabilized and stuff and predictable, but there's so many countries where they had a lot of performance problems and reliability problems because the power did not meet standard. Yeah. And once you have a switching power supply in there, it's no problem. Plug it into whatever.
I think this must be a switching power supply, because power consumption in network standby mode is under 2 watts. If you turn off network standby mode, it's half a watt. So this has got to be a switching power supply.
Okay, so still, it's not really burning up. The AB is not really burning up that much power if it's on a switching power supply. If that's the idle, then
consumption in normal use is 320 watts. So
yeah, but what's that really mean? I mean, this is something people don't understand. Is like, if your amp is putting out 200 watts, the efficiency differences are not all that great. Okay, I mean, yeah, there's a linear power supply is going to generate more heat, right? It's not going to be as efficient, but once you're putting out 200 watts, it's still 200 watts, even with a Class D amp and a switching power supply. It's still 200 watts. It's still a lot of power that you're pulling, right? It's still two big giant incandescent light bulbs worth of power. So anyway, though, I wanted to talk also because Kef introduced a new, we were talking about them a little bit before. And not Kef. Kef and ELAC, I get confused, and I really don't know why. I know why. Do you know why I get Kef and ELAC confused?
Andrew Jones?
Yes, because he has worked for both. Good answer. You win nothing. You get nothing.
I'm getting no prize.
Sir. You know what that is a quote from?
No. What was that?
You get nothing. Good day. That's Willy Wonka.
Right. Yeah.
The Gene Wilder one.
Yeah. Good day, sir.
Yeah. Anyway, ELAC, the DCB 61 is their new speaker, and I can't remember what the price is. It's like $600, $700, something like that. And it's got a 6.5-inch woofer and a standard tweeter. And they have an existing speaker called the DCB 41, right? This is the 61 that's the new. The 41 is the old one. And it sells for typically $450, $500 a pair. And it's a very nice looking little...
$899 US.
Okay, so it'll actually be cheaper once you buy it off Amazon or something. And so the original was a powered speaker, not an active speaker. It was not bi-amped. It had an amp of, 50, 60 watts, something, that powered the woofer and the tweeter through a passive crossover, right? And it's generally considered that an active speaker with a line level crossover that's either done with components or more likely nowadays in DSP, right? Is better because you're not chewing up all this XX power. You don't have all these reactive components in there, reacting with the speaker and causing a lot of response anomalies and power consumption anomalies and things like that, right? So that's generally considered better. However, I have measured the ELAC DCB 41. And I've measured, I think our top pick is an Andover Audio Speakeasy 4, which is bi-amped. Okay. And it's like $300 a pair. And the Andover Audio one does the DCB 41, the ELAC measures beautifully. It's kind of dead flat. The Andover does not, except it's bi-amped. And so you cannot assume that a powered speaker is worse than an active speaker because it depends on the implementation. Right. I can tri-amp a speaker and screw up the design and mess up the frequency response and not have it sound as good as a plain old speaker just plugged into an amp or with a mono amplifier built in. So this new DCB 61 from ELAC has bi-amping built in. The 60 watt amp for the woofer and a 20 watt amp for the tweeter, both class D. And so It's probably great. I mean, the DCB-40 one is really well engineered, and it's a really good little product. And I enthusiastically recommend that without hesitation. This is probably better because it's coming from probably the same engineering team or similar. It probably measures maybe slightly better. It's got all the same features that we talked about with. No, I take it back. It doesn't have all the same features. It has, Toslink digital input. It's got a phono input. It's got an RCA input that can be phono or line level. It's got HDMI ARC. It's got Dolby Digital, which is good. If you have HDMI ARC, it's good to have Dolby Digital because so much stuff is in Dolby Digital. And sometimes HDMI ARC systems are like an audio product they'll only take stereo PCM, which means you got to go set your TV for stereo PCM and maybe your Roku box and blah, blah, and stuff like that. But I'm guessing these are, I won't test them because they're above our price ceiling for Wirecutter. I should probably stretch the price ceiling because these are probably great.
I really like the point that you made that this ELAC speaker is really representative of if people are going to go out and buy a pair of speakers, normies, no, I'm not talking about audiophiles, I'm talking about normies. Yeah. If they're going to buy a pair of stereo speakers right now, this ELAC is the sort of thing that they're going to buy, plug and play. And I think, if you're going to get a non-audiophile to buy a $70,000 pair of focals, look, I'm sorry, you're increasing your chances of making a sale by taking all of the things that people like about little active desktop speakers or, these little $900 powered speakers and understanding why do they appeal to people, right? It's easy. You hook it up and you fuss with it. And look, I understand. I've talked about this before with regard to my love of Corvettes. Sometimes if you're passionate about a thing, you want to tinker with a thing. You want to, chase that next big amp upgrade and things like that. And if that's what you love from the hobby, then who's to tell you you're wrong? But I think for most people, they're just going to look at that focal and go, if I'm buying a $70,000 sound system, I'm liking that. It's plug it into the wall and my phone connects to it and I'm done. Yes, please. So I think it's really smart.
I think so too. And of course, Focal does make passive speakers that you can, plug whatever amp you want into there.
Of course.
And, but this is a nice option. And of course, once you get into 70,000 a pair, I don't know what percentage of the buyers are audiophiles at that point.
Yeah.
So it could just be a lot of, somebody, you're a high paid corporate lawyer or something in New York and you want some sound for your apartment that looks your co-op or whatever that looks really cool and sounds really great and $70,000, sure. Or, if you're some kind of oligarch and one of your apartments is in one of those super tall buildings in Manhattan. And I mean, you're already spending millions on the place. Why not spend another $70K on your living room entertainment system?
Yeah.
So I think it's
kind of
more
a rounding error.
Our good friend, the audiophiliac, Steve Guttenberg, would have more to say about that since he used to sell high-end audio gear at Sound by Singer. But he told me once, he said, we were talking about some super high-end speaker or amp or something. He's like, audiophiles don't buy that stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? Audiophiles buy used because they know what they're looking for and they know they can get stuff, used for less than half the original cost. And it's still great. And he's probably savvy audiophiles, I think, buy used. Because let's face it, the amp from 40 years ago, if it still works, sounds as good as the amp you buy today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and the speakers maybe not, but you could buy speakers from 20 years ago that are probably as good as the speakers you buy today.
Yeah. It's a good point.
So anyway, anything more to say about this?
I don't think so, buddy. I think it's time to wrap it up and do some credits. So
let's do some credits.
We'll say, as usual, this is a Butterburger production, which means it's me and you I'm editing this one, and I'm going to be editing it in a quite spiteful way, by the way. So we got a comment from a listener on the last episode. This is from Andre Isopu. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. And his comment was, hot take, AI Bollywood version of Butterburger house band sounds better than the original band. So I'm gonna deep dive back into the archives of the Butterburger house band, and instead of our greatest hits, this is gonna be our worst hits. I'm gonna find two of the worst Butterburger house band songs, and I'm gonna drop them in this episode just to spite Andre. Man, come on, what's that comment about? AI Bollywood version of Butterburger house band sounds better than the original band.
Well,
Take that. I'll show you.
In matters of taste, it doesn't. I like to have that organic element in music, and that's why I don't much like current pop music, because it's so compressed. There's no real instruments on it. There's rarely real instruments on it. The singers it's all composite takes of 10, 15 different recordings of the singer doing the same song. Yep. And it's so processed, and the humanity's all gone. And that's one thing the Butterburger house band has going for it, is humanity.
Yeah. And spite.
Yeah. So we're free to suck. We're free to suck in a way that AI simply is not.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting
music.
it.
AI music doesn't seem to have hallucinations.
Yeah.
Probably be better if it did.
It might be a lot better. We'll get there. I don't know. Maybe they'll need AGI for that instead of just neural networks. But that'll be a topic for another day. For now, we will say, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you.
We do.
But patrons, stick around. We got one more for you.
Yay. Bye.
Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you liked what you heard and wish there'd been a little bit more of it, we got some good news for you.
Indeed, we do. If you check out patreon.com/Audio Unleashed, all one word, you can get new episodes a little earlier than everybody else.
And sometimes it's like a day or two early. Sometimes it's nearly a week. We never really know until we start editing.
But the big plus is that you get extended cuts of every episode. And usually that's going to mean a whole extra segment that's about maybe a geekier topic, or something that's a little more personal to us, or something that's just going to really appeal to the hardcore Audio Unleashed listener.
Yeah, what it boils down to is, if you're somebody who would support Audio Unleashed on Patreon, we're going to make sure the bonuses to every episode are really aimed straight at your interests.
Yeah, and so if you want to hear these segments, you can subscribe to our Patreon for $3 a month, which is less than I spend every single day on my cup of coffee when I go to Starbucks to write my boring articles.
Yeah. One more time with that URL, that's patreon.com/Audio Unleashed.
Or Audio
Unleashed. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.